Picture this: a Russian armored column, more than a dozen tanks and vehicles strong, pushing forward with unstoppable confidence. The ground shakes beneath their tracks. Their commanders believe nothing can stop them. But on this cold morning in Ukraine, their mission would turn into a nightmare, because waiting in the shadows was a smaller force, determined, prepared, and ready to unleash an ambush so devastating that it would destroy an entire tank column in less than 30 minutes. It was early morning. The countryside was quiet, covered in thick fog. Visibility was poor, but for the Russians, this was perfect weather. Hidden from the sky, their armored column, tanks, infantry carriers, and support vehicles moved with confidence. The order was clear: advance through this sector, break Ukrainian defenses, and open a corridor for reinforcements. But what they didn't know was that every movement, every sound of their engines was being tracked. Ukrainian intelligence had eyes in the sky. Drones circled silently, transmitting live images back to commanders hidden in nearby villages. Radios crackled with short, sharp orders. The defenders had spotted the column, and they had been waiting. The road the Russians chose was narrow, the kind of road where vehicles have no space to maneuver. On both sides, tree lines and abandoned farmhouses created a deadly funnel. For Ukrainian defenders, it was the perfect place to strike. For the Russians, it was the perfect kill zone. Ukrainian soldiers moved into position with practiced silence. Anti-tank teams slipped into basements, trenches, and firing holes dug into the frozen ground. Artillery crews calibrated their weapons, locking in coordinates already prepared from days of reconnaissance. Small drones hovered above the battlefield, invisible in the morning fog. They carried explosives, waiting for the signal to dive. For the Russian tank crews, it felt like just another push forward. Some smoked cigarettes. Others chatted on radios, confident in their steel armor. The lead tanks churned through mud and frost, their commanders convinced resistance would collapse the moment they arrived. But every second brought them closer to the trap. From the shadows of the tree line, the first rocket-propelled grenade roared out. It slammed into the lead tank with a deafening explosion. Boom! The vehicle erupted into flames, its crew scrambling for survival. The column screeched to a halt, trapped in the narrow road. Before the shock could even register, artillery rained down from above. Mortar shells, fired with pinpoint accuracy, smashed into the middle of the formation. And from the sky, drones swooped down, releasing small but deadly bombs directly onto the hatches of armored vehicles. Chaos exploded in seconds. Russian soldiers leapt from their vehicles, trying desperately to return fire. But every attempt was met with gunfire, rockets, and explosions. Smoke filled the air. The once proud column was now trapped, boxed in by terrain and Ukrainian firepower. The Russians tried to fight back. Tank cannons fired blindly into the fog, their shells smashing into empty fields. Infantry dismounted, taking cover behind wrecks, but every movement exposed them to hidden sharpshooters and machine gun fire. Vehicles collided as drivers panicked. Some tried to reverse, only to crash into each other. The road became a graveyard of steel. Ukrainian fighters moved like shadows. From hidden trenches and basements, they fired Javelin and NLAW missiles with deadly precision. Each missile streaked across the fog, hitting its target with a thunderous blast. One by one, the Russian tanks went up in flames. What had begun as a confident advance was now a massacre. The defenders controlled the battlefield, and the attackers could do nothing but burn. The ambush lasted less than 30 minutes, but in that short span, an entire Russian armored column was destroyed. When the smoke cleared, more than a dozen tanks and armored vehicles lay shattered along the road. Some still burned, black smoke rising high into the morning sky. Others were abandoned, their crews fleeing on foot, leaving behind weapons, radios, and even their dead. For Ukraine, it was more than just a tactical victory. It was proof that planning, courage, and the will to fight could overcome superior numbers and firepower. For Russia, it was a humiliation. A force that was supposed to crush resistance had instead been crushed itself. News of the ambush spread quickly. Ukrainian media shared footage of burning tanks, drone videos of the battlefield littered with wreckage. The images became symbols of resistance, spreading hope across towns and cities still under threat. Internationally, military analysts studied the ambush as an example of modern warfare, where small, mobile units armed with advanced weapons could destroy larger armored forces. For Ukrainian fighters, the message was clear. Size alone. For Ukrainian fighters, the message was clear. Size alone doesn't win battles. Morale, preparation, and home field advantage can turn the tide. For Russian troops, the message was equally clear. Nowhere was safe, and even the strongest armor could be destroyed by determination and precision. The ambush of the Russian tank column was more than just a story of explosions and destruction. It was a story of resilience. It showed how defenders, outnumbered and outgunned, could still find ways to fight back. It proved that in war, numbers alone do not guarantee victory. Strategy, terrain, and above all, the human spirit can change everything. And as this war continues, battles like this remind us that history is not written by the strongest, but by those who refuse to give up. This was the story of the Ukrainian ambush that destroyed an entire Russian tank column. A story of fire, steel, and unshakable resolve. If you found this story powerful, hit like, share, and subscribe to War Affairs for more real frontline stories, analysis, and updates from the Russia-Ukraine war and global conflicts. Because history is being written every day, and we are here to tell